While we're on government, Matt Hancock posted a video recently, or you posted on your Twitter, of him apologizing, I think, under a deposition or something? And he was the health secretary during COVID.
Part of the COVID inquiry, yes.
Right, COVID inquiry.
Giving evidence on that.
You tweeted about it. What was your comment on that, and what is your thought on that? And what was your thought on his handling of the crisis, or even the government at the time?
It's interesting. So I have met Matt. I've known him at a reasonable level, partly because a few years ago, I'm just trying to remember the timeline here. So 2019, I gave a talk in the British Parliament, organised by at that time the MP was Keith Vaz, and he was the chair of the all-party parliamentary group on diabetes. A lot of my work has been propagating information on how people can send their type 2 diabetes into remission purely from dietary changes, right? So, and because my first book had become quite successful, and I'd done a documentary film called The Big Fat Fix that had influenced the deputy leader of the Labour Party at that time, Tom Watson, to lose 100 pounds, and that got publicised. They knew also, because of my research work and everything I published, that I was a credible person to talk about this. So I was invited to speak in Parliament, and Tom Watson also was quite friendly with Matt Hancock, who was Secretary for Health, and I got in touch with him as well through that. And Matt was initially supposed to come to my talk, but couldn't make it and said, let's meet beforehand. So I met Matt before that, gave him a copy of my book. And I think later on he mentioned, I think, that he lost 2 stones probably on that diet plan himself. So we had initial rapport and interaction then. And then during the pandemic, I was very vocal early on, Brian, on making the link between obesity and metabolic health problems, conditions related to excess body fat and worse COVID outcomes. In fact, I went on Sky News in March 2020 to say, Boris has come out with this slogan, stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives, but actually he should put in there, eat real food.
Right.
Because actually we know very quickly you can send a lot of these risk factors associated with COVID and reverse them or optimize them just within a few weeks of changing diet. And in fact, that would probably have a big impact on the resilience to infection. And I was getting livid about it because it was so clear the link.
Did it frustrate you in that?
It did, but and I tried several times, and I eventually got articles in newspapers. I published in journals. I wrote this article, which ended up being a front page, featured as a front page commentary in the Daily Telegraph. And suddenly then I was on BBC News and I was on Good Morning Britain. I've done several stuff, with them before. And I said, I wrote about this, Boris Johnson probably got sick and got hospitalized with COVID because of his weight, And that became a massive story. And we got this stuff into the mainstream. Certainly it was one day's news, and it carried on for a little while. And it was that time Matt then reached out to me again, we had an email exchange, and he asked me to advise him on the link between COVID and obesity. And I said, Matt, to be honest, this has been going on for such a long time. You need to introduce policy changes that really address ultra-processed food consumption, which is half of the calories in a British diet. These are essentially foods that are high in sugar, refined carbs, unhealthy oils. All the studies point in one direction, that they cause harm, even independent of body weight, right? These are observational studies, fine, they have their limitations, but there's no study showing a benefit. And clearly we know that the food industry manipulate and engineer foods to make them addictive. So this is a low-hanging fruit like big tobacco. You need to introduce policies to address this, ban advertising of these foods, tax ultra-processed foods, public health education campaign, of course, right? So I told him all that stuff. So we had an interaction there. But moving forward, of course, all these leaked WhatsApp messages came out. That was again on the front page of the Telegraph, that he had this plan to frighten the pants off the public around COVID. And the reason, coming back to the tweet, the reason I was a little bit alarmed by what he'd said in the COVID inquiries, he was now going down the route of, we should have locked down earlier. We should have been more stringent and locked down earlier. And
is that what he's saying now?
Yeah, that's why my tweet was something along the lines of, good Lord.
Right.
That was it, right? But I was, we know that lockdowns didn't work, right? They were never really going to stop the spread. They would delay things for a while, but we know even in Australia now, their mortality statistics from COVID, even though they kept it at bay for a very, very long time, were as high as anywhere else. It had a very minimal impact on reducing COVID deaths. But with all the collateral damage, I think it's a very reasonable argument to be made that it did more harm than good, for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was the thing that I was a bit surprised that Matt was saying.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.